The voices of the women who accompanied Jesus. Day 1, Monday. Mary of Bethany. You may like to read John chapter 12 verses 1 to 11 before you listen further. That was my preparation, my coming to the tomb, my recognising of God's moment. And it has been told in memory of me, in memory of us, and finally someone is noticing. Praise the Lord. Let me explain. At that awful and yet incredible Passover, we had a house full. Where did you think that all those women who had come from Galilee stayed? With Martha and myself, of course. Lazarus stayed in the city. Our little home in Bethany was bursting. As well as me, Mary, and Martha, there were many women from Galilee. His mother Mary, of course. Mary, the mother of James, Joanna, Susanna, Mary of Magdala. They are the ones whose names you know from Luke's Gospel. But there were many more than that. Luke and John are quite good at remembering them. Matthew and Mark less so. Women of all ages and backgrounds. You'll meet some more this week, no doubt. Jesus stayed with us several times a year, and we'd got to know him well, his followers less so. They were all from Galilee and travelled round together. We felt a bit ignored sometimes, not by Jesus, but by them, not quite proper, because we did not travel. I say we all the time because I really do think of Martha and myself as one. People misunderstood that time that Jesus came and Martha was fussing so much over the dinner while I sat and listened to his teaching with the others. It's not to say that I never cooked or she never listened. After all, it was Martha who went out to welcome him in. It's just that sometimes we each got the balance a little wrong, but without the other we'd each be lost. A year ago, Jesus left us after a festival to go across the Jordan River. He'd only gone a few days when Lazarus, our brother, became sick. It was awful. I tried to blot it out of my mind. We waited and waited for Jesus to come. 4 days it was. When he did come, it was Martha again who went out and met him, who declared, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God." I didn't know she had it in her. Was I not so certain? Or was I just so upset at the loss of my brother that I couldn't say anything when I went out to him, except tell him that he should have come earlier, and cry? Oh, I cried. He cried too. And then, there he was, my brother Lazarus come out of the tomb. Makes me think sometimes of Mary in the garden that first Easter morning, crying, and then suddenly there was someone else come out of the tomb. And so that day, that evening when Jesus came to supper, I knew that he was going to die. I knew it when I took that jar I'd bought of perfume, pure nard it was, and anointed Jesus' feet with the oil. And I could see he knew as well. I never thought that 5 days later he himself would kneel at a supper and wash feet, his disciples this time, and with water. It was strange. I somehow just had to do it. God was pushing me, otherwise, quite honestly, I wouldn't have had the courage to grasp the moment. God's moment, I suppose. And who knows, maybe it had such an effect on Jesus that it gave him an idea of how to demonstrate love. Oh, such love. Because that's what I was doing. It was our Last Supper, if you like. And Mark in his Gospel remembers how Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, wherever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her." And Jesus echoed those words 5 days later as well. I just did what any of us would have done, gave myself to him as he gave himself to us. I remember Jesus crying again not long after, on his way into the city, just before he really shook things up in the temple with the money changers and whatnot. He wept for all Jerusalem. They just didn't recognise that this was God's moment. Here was a chance, a moment of great possibility. and they would not embrace it. We can't anticipate God's moments. We can only become ready as best we can and pray for the grace that we will experience God. I know that all too well. I was blessed to sit at Jesus' feet to ready my lamp. But you can fuel your lamp in many ways, in meditation, prayer, study, reading, whatever. Just commit to know, to love, to become yourself, to stay with it. All moments are God's moments, and through grace you will come to recognise some of them. Your life will gradually come to reflect more fully who you really are, and you will find your own meaning. It can be frightening, difficult, dangerous, painful, and consuming of both time and energy. It is a constant work of preparing and coming to meet whatever and whoever is there. But it is also comforting, transforming, clarifying, deeply satisfying, and it is the only way to find peace. These promises are not empty, I know. They are full to overflowing.